beautiful girl, a monstrous beast, a curse that can only be broken by love. Disney sold you a romance about seeing beyond appearances. But what if I told you Beauty and the Beast isn't about love at all? What if every detail, the rose, the transformation, the isolated castle, points to humanity's most ancient and horrifying practice? Because this story carries a 6,000-year-old secret, one so disturbing that we've spent millennia disguising it as a fairy tale about inner beauty. Once you understand what the beast really represents, you'll never look at arranged marriages the same way again. You know the version. Belle's father gets lost, stumbles upon an enchanted castle, picks a rose for his daughter. The beast appears, furious, and demands payment. The father's life, or his daughter, must come willingly. Belle sacrifices herself to save her father. The beast, despite his terrifying appearance, treats her kindly. They dine together, walk in gardens, share books and conversation. Slowly, Belle sees past his monstrous exterior to the gentle soul within. When she finally says, "I love you," the curse breaks. The beast transforms into a handsome prince. True love conquers all, except it doesn't, because this isn't a love story. In 2016, folklorists traced Beauty and the Beast using phylogenetic analysis. The tail type ATU 425C appears across every continent, dating back over 6,000 years to the birth of agricultural civilization. But here's what's disturbing. The oldest versions aren't about love, they're about breeding. Ancient Mesopotamian tablets describe sacred marriages between human women and divine beings, who appeared as animals or monsters. Egyptian reliefs show pharaohs' daughters wed to gods in beast form. Hindu scriptures detail apsaras mating with creatures that transform into celestial beings. This isn't mythology. This is memory of when humans weren't the only intelligent species on Earth. Let's examine the rose. In every version, the catalyst is a stolen rose. But roses aren't just flowers in ancient cultures. They're symbols of fertility, sexuality, and genetic purity. Archaeological evidence from 6,000-year-old sites shows rose petals preserved in burial chambers alongside genetic material, hair, teeth, bone fragments. These weren't decorative, they were preservation rituals. The rose represents bloodline, DNA, the genetic heritage that must be protected and passed on. When Belle's father steals the rose, he's not picking a flower. He's violating genetic territory, taking genetic material that belongs to another species. The price? His daughter's reproductive future. Now let's talk about the beast. Every culture has the same archetype, an intelligent being that appears monstrous, but possesses advanced knowledge, vast wealth, and the ability to transform. Celtic folklore calls them the Tuatha De Danann. Norse myths describe the Jotnar. Hindu texts speak of the Nagas. Always the same pattern: non-human intelligence, shape-shifting abilities, interest in human females, offspring with extraordinary capabilities. What if the beast isn't cursed? What if he's exactly what he appears to be? A member of an ancient species that once shared this planet with early humans. Recent genetic discoveries have shattered everything we thought we knew about human evolution. We carry DNA from at least 3 extinct human species: Neanderthals, Denisovans, and a mysterious third group scientists call Ghost Population X. But here's what they won't tell you. Some modern humans carry genetic markers that don't match any known extinct species. DNA sequences that seem almost artificial, designed. What if Beauty and the Beast is a racial memory of when these species interbred, when human women were selected for genetic compatibility with non-human intelligence? The castle isn't just a home, it's a laboratory. Every version describes the same elements: vast libraries containing forbidden knowledge, mechanical servants that obey without question, rooms that transform based on the inhabitants' desires, gardens where impossible plants grow. This isn't magic. This is advanced technology. Archaeological sites from 6,000 years ago show evidence of metallurgy, astronomy, and engineering that mainstream science can't explain. Precisely cut stones weighing hundreds of tons. Astronomical alignments accurate to fractions of degrees. Metal alloys that modern science struggles to reproduce. The Beast's castle represents the remnants of a lost technological civilization, one that needed human genetic material to survive. But why Belle specifically? In every version, the Beast doesn't just accept any woman. He chooses carefully. Belle is described as intelligent, curious, different from other girls. She reads books. She asks questions. She's genetically exceptional. Ancient Sumerian texts describe the Anunnaki selecting human females based on specific genetic markers. Egyptian records detail divine beings choosing brides through elaborate testing processes. Hindu scriptures describe apsaras evaluating human women for spiritual and intellectual development. This isn't about beauty, It's about genetic compatibility. The beast needs specific DNA sequences, particular combinations of intelligence, creativity, and reproductive potential. Belle isn't chosen for her appearance. She's chosen for her genes. The transformation isn't romantic, it's biological. When Belle says, "I love you," she's not expressing emotion. She's giving consent. Consent for genetic integration, for biological transformation, for the creation of hybrid offspring. The beast's change from monster to prince isn't magical. It's genetic expression, the activation of dormant DNA sequences that allow him to appear human while retaining his species' advanced capabilities. But here's the terrifying part. Belle transforms too. In original versions, after the beast's transformation, Belle is described differently: wiser, more beautiful, capable of things she couldn't do before. She's been genetically enhanced. Let's examine the offspring. Later versions of the tale describe Belle and the beast's children as extraordinarily gifted, preternaturally intelligent, capable of feats that seem impossible. They become rulers, inventors, founders of great dynasties. Historical records show similar patterns throughout human history. Royal bloodlines claiming descent from gods or supernatural beings. Ruling families with abilities that set them apart from common humans. Dynasties that maintained power through knowledge ordinary people couldn't comprehend. What if these weren't myths? What if they were genetic memories of when human nobility really did carry non-human DNA? Modern genetic analysis of ancient royal remains shows unusual chromosomal patterns. DNA sequences that don't match standard human baselines. Genetic markers that suggest hybridization with unknown species. The isolated castle represents quarantine. These breeding programs weren't random. They were carefully controlled experiments in genetic integration. Human females were isolated, monitored, and bred with non-human intelligence to create hybrid offspring with the best traits of both species. The beast's wealth and knowledge represent the technological inheritance of a dying species. The library contains their accumulated wisdom. The mechanical servants are their automated systems. The transforming rooms respond to genetic markers and neural patterns. Belle isn't a prisoner. She's an incubator, a genetic vessel for creating the next phase of human evolution. But here's what makes this story truly horrifying. It's still happening. Throughout history, certain bloodlines have maintained power through knowledge that seems impossible for their time period. They've produced individuals with capabilities that defy explanation. They've preserved technologies and wisdom that mainstream civilization has lost and rediscovered repeatedly. Modern genetic research reveals that some humans carry DNA sequences that don't match known evolutionary patterns, genetic markers that suggest recent mixing with non-human intelligence, chromosomal arrangements that shouldn't exist in natural populations. What if the breeding program never ended? What if certain families still carry contracts made 6,000 years ago? What if modern, arranged marriages among the elite aren't about politics or wealth, but about maintaining genetic compatibility with non-human intelligence? The next time you see a powerful family that seems to possess knowledge others don't, ask yourself, what genetic heritage are they protecting? What non-human intelligence do they serve? And what price did their ancestors pay for abilities that transcend normal human limitations? Beauty and the Beast isn't a fairy tale about love conquering all. It's a manual for genetic integration between human and non-human intelligence. A guide to creating hybrid offspring that carry the best traits of both species. The rose represents genetic material. The beast represents non-human intelligence. The transformation represents successful genetic integration, and Belle represents humanity's willingness to sacrifice individual freedom for species advancement. The most terrifying part? We're still telling our daughters this story, still teaching them that loving the monster is noble, still programming them to accept genetic integration as romantic destiny, because somewhere in our collective unconscious, we remember the truth. Human evolution didn't happen naturally. It was guided, shaped, controlled by intelligence that used our ancestors as genetic raw material. And it's not finished with us yet. But if you think genetic hybridization is disturbing, wait until you discover what's really hidden in Cinderella. The truth about the glass slipper will reveal humanity's most carefully guarded secret. Click to learn what the royal bloodlines don't want you to know. Sleep tight, Darkling.